Welcome to One Up Fantasy, helping you one up the fantasy football competition. For the latest in Chicago sports news, visit ChiCitySports.com. And now, here are the hosts of One Up Fantasy, Stephen Johnson and Chris Jackle. Kaboom!
Greetings and salutations, one and all. Welcome into another edition of One Up Fantasy here on ChiCitySports.com and the Tape Never Lies Network. I'm Stephen Johnson. He is Chris Jackle. I'll try not to hit my mic next time, but hey, it is another wonderful evening. We are talking more fantasy football. We are in week number 9. And man, I'm waiting for the day where we don't have major injury news to discuss. And guess what? Today ain't that day.
It's a sad day in Mudville. Holy shit, man. I can't believe it. This is like the mighty have fallen, though. I mean, it's sad, sad, sad. I'm feeling it personally on my side with some of my teams. It sucks. I'm making some awful trades. I'm trying to make some trades. I'm trying to do anything to salvage a good season so far, because if you had Derrick Henry, you drafted him high, 1 or 2, depending on where you sat, you know. And yeah, now you're bent over the kitchen sink, hoping, you know, it sucks. How you doing?
Praying that he can get to the playoffs and he becomes a Superman in that 6 to 10 week time frame. He is out with a foot injury. He had surgery on said foot. Week 6 would put him at, let's see if I can do math quickly in my head here, week 14. So right on the cusp of fantasy football playoffs, depending on if you got 4 or 6 teams in the dance when it's all said and done. But that's going to be a tall order, a very tall order, even for a guy like Derrick Henry.
And like Nunu says, you know, he's done. You know, it's even if he comes back week 15, you're going to trust starting him in like your championship or semifinal to get, you know, with a foot injury. It's like, oh,
he's Derrick Henry.
True, but I mean,
how many times has the community as a whole bet against Derrick Henry only to just have him throw the double birds and say, I'm getting this done?
The Tupac salute, we're doing it. You know, I mean, it was sad. I like Henry, and it sucks. You know, I've never had him on a team until this year. It was kind of just odd. And now I'm trying to figure it all out like the rest of us. I think we should probably break it down a little bit and figure out what to do in this case, you know, because they did make some moves. You know, there are some people on their bench. They were missing Evans. He's done for the year, right?
He is back on the IR, so he's at least out for the next 3 weeks. But yeah, they did make a fair amount of moves here, and all of a sudden it's wondering who's actually going to be the guy in the backfield that gets it done. And obviously the biggest name of them all in regards to this whole situation unfolding down in Nashville is the signing of the wonder ageless running back, Adrian Peterson.
He's Adrian
back,
Peterson,
folks. Man, I tell you, it was funny because a lot of people were talking about, is like it going to be Todd Gurley? Is it going to be, you know, there's this laundry list of running backs that are sitting out there. But again, here's Adrian Peterson coming off of a 1-year stint with the Detroit Lions, a 3.9 yards per carry average. It's 600 rushing yards last year. Yeah, it was not great from that standpoint, but at the same time, I mean, respectable, I guess, compared to some of his other running back counterparts out there.
7 touchdowns, right? You know, I mean, the year before he almost had 900 yards. Same exact thing. He had 5 touchdowns. You know, but 4.3 yards a carry. I mean, if he has anything left in the tank, as you've seen, what's his name? Henry had 95% of their rushing yards. If they can get anything out of AP, they will squeeze every ounce of whatever out of him to make sure. I mean, all day AP, you know, I mean, if he's got anything, they're going to try to get him there. That's why they went with him over the guys you just mentioned, I think, personally. I think AP could do something. It was interesting. I was listening yesterday to I was listening to a show. I forget who it was. It was early in the morning, and it was when they were talking about him having surgery. And so AP was still a free agent in one of my leagues. He was just out there. And I had a couple of guys before the Monday night game that hadn't gone off yet. I had like Daniel Jones as a backup. And so I cut him and I just quickly picked him up thinking, hey, maybe they'll sign him. Sure and shit, a couple hours later, they ended up picking him up. So I was like, score one for the Gipper over here, but, but it was a small consolation prize considering what, just got wiped off your roster, a solid 27 points a week or whatever it is. But yeah.
Yeah, because right now it's a little bit of an unknown. Obviously, they're putting him on the practice squad, trying to get him up to snuff, make sure that he can get things rolling here. Obviously, since he hasn't taken a single snap in 2021, I'm sure. And I'm seeing one comment here, getting right to my point, jumping the gun here, is the people just blowing their free agent bidding budget.
Oh, we're both clicking
on Adrian Peterson. Like it's rough. It's a rough go of things because you'd assume that Adrian Peterson would be the guy to get the majority of those carries. It's just a matter of who else is there, really. Dante Foreman also signed by the Tennessee Titans as well. A guy that was originally drafted by the Houston Texans, spent some time with the Indianapolis Colts. I believe was also in a little bit of law trouble as well.
Just a little
when
bit.
It was all said and done. So really, you don't really have much to put up with there. Like you said, Darrington Evans dealing with some injuries, like we said, going back on IR. And then past that, you have Jeremy McNichols. That's really the only guy on the roster is Jeremy McNichols. Fun fact about Jeremy McNichols is that when he was drafted, I believe it was by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a 4th round pick. I could be wrong on this. I'm pulling this out of my ass as we go here. But he was actually cut before the season. He did not make the final roster in his 5th round pick in 2017 and was cut before the season started. So you think about that. A 5th round pick couldn't get out of it. And then he's just bounced around. He's been on the Niners, the Colts, the Broncos, the Titans. He was actually on in 2018 prior to his second stint. He was with the Bears on their practice squad. Then he went to the Jaguars. And now he's back with the Titans. So he has bounced around on all sorts of different practice squads. Doesn't necessarily equate to a lot of confidence for leading a backfield in the NFL.
Now, go ahead. Sorry.
I would say all signs point to Adrian Peterson being the guy once he gets up to speed. But in the interim, I have no idea what to make of this without saying Ryan Tannehill's going to pass the ball 60 times a game.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to get to was now you're going to see somebody's got to get some points on the board for them, So AJ Brown, probably going to benefit a little bit more. He had a monster game last week with him being out. I mean, I think he had his best game of the year, highest fantasy point production. Definitely stepped up when they needed somebody, taking that. Was it the Colts they went into overtime with and ended up winning? Was that Wentz when he threw the left-handed pass to the yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, I couldn't imagine being a Colts fan. I mean, I couldn't imagine being a Bears fan. So fuck it.
Here we are.
Yes, exactly. So guys are going to have to eat. And to your point, I think you're dead on with Tannehill having to sling that ball around more. It showed in what he did last week. At the end of the game, I forget what his numbers were ultimately. But he still had, what was it? I had it somewhere. Yeah, I'm sorry. 23 for 33 with 265, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, ran for 26 yards. He's going to have to do more of that, more of 2020 Tannehill than 2021 Tannehill, where he put up those huge passing numbers. Granted, that definitely was hand in hand with Henry running the ball and benefiting from that. But still, if you're going to throw the ball 50 times a game, I'm hoping you can get some production out of that. And if you have him in your lineup, there's a chance you're going to get some points out of your QB and maybe a stack with AJ Brown, or if Julio Jones is ever healthy, maybe he'll do something this year. Or that ship has just sailed. I don't know.
Yeah, I say I'm starting to lose hope quick of anything Julio could potentially be doing.
Yeah.
And the worst part
cut
is
Julio in a few leagues the last week.
yeah, it's hard to really get on board with trusting him anywhere unless you were in a dire situation in terms of the bye week or just injuries. Like I said, it's been a rough one, and really for the Titans as well. It's like, please, like, let's have an easy part of the schedule. Nope. They get the Rams in LA this week and then follow it up with the Saints. So, I mean, the Saints dealing with their own issues. Jameis Winston tearing his ACL. Looks like Taysom Hill's going to be the guy once he comes back from his concussion.
I don't know. Did you hear Phillip Rivers today?
Yeah. Phillip Rivers apparently saying he'd listen. I don't know if I'd take the call if I were the Saints, to be honest.
But an interesting take I heard on that was he's trying to get Drew Brees to come back so then Rivers can slide into the Monday night gig. So just try to like okey doke them and be like, hey, go play, go back to New Orleans. I'm just going to go back onto your Monday night football gig and, talk for a living instead of, shot put balls to wide receivers. So, but. Hey.
Yeah, listening to that Southern twang every Sunday night instead of Drew Brees, I don't think I can handle that.
Nah, me neither. I feel bad for Jameis, so that was awful. Shitty tackle resulted in a shitty injury. And the Saints have to do something. Michael Thomas is hopefully coming back at some point, but Alvin Kamara, Callaway, and the band of characters are going to have to step up. They have Sean Payton. He has demonstrated it doesn't matter who's at quarterback. I think they can get some production, and that equates to some wins for this team. They have a running game. I don't know. What do you think, Steve?
Well, I mean, the fact that they were able to beat the Buccaneers was eye-opening, to say the least, especially with Trevor Siemian playing the majority of that game. It's like that the same Trevor Siemian who was
makes you
really
feel good as a
bad
Bears fan, right?
Oh my God, it makes me feel terrible. I mean, because no one expected that to happen,
No.
and. Yes, it's the Superdome. Yes, it's a very difficult place to play, but what happened? Like the Tampa Bay defense legitimately had difficulty with stopping Trevor Siemian. Alvin Kamara really didn't have that great of a game either. He had 19 carries for 61 yards.
Yeah.
That's barely over 3 a clip. Like, what are you asking for? Their top receiver. Yeah, let's, without looking at the box score. I don't know if you're looking at the box score.
I'm not. I'm letting you do it.
Who was the Saints' leading receiver on Sunday?
Traquan Smith.
Kevin White.
Oh, my God. I read that today. You're right. Yes. Good for him. Hey, good for him.
1 catch, 38 yards. That was the top receiver for the Saints, and they beat the Buccaneers. Like,
yeah.
That's
Brady's kryptonite. I mean, right?
God.
What's he, 3-4 against the Saints in the last 2 years? Isn't that what it is?
I mean, it's wild. It's absolutely wild, but that defense is there to carry this team. And I tell you, once they get Taysom Hill back in the saddle, I think it's definitely going to help. If anything, though, the thing I worry about from a fantasy perspective with Taysom Hill back there at quarterback is Kamara, because a lot of people forget just how bad Kamara's stats were when Hill was quarterback last year when the Drew Brees injury happened. It was not pretty. And we talked a little bit about Michael Thomas there. We'll bring him up right now with, what exactly is going on. God knows if there's any type of non-drama going on with Michael Thomas in terms of what he could possibly bring to this team. But Taysom Hill locked on to Michael Thomas when they were together and have been on the field together. And so now it's just a matter of, okay, that window can open. He can get back on the field. But here we are, week 9, still no sign. And I know it was, I believe, middle of October, there was talk about needing a couple more weeks before he
Ian
can
Rappaport
return to
was
action.
reporting that, back on October 18th, I think he said eligible week 7, right? Not ready.
Yeah.
The reports were coming out then that, he needs a couple more weeks. Puts you week 9, 10, 11, right? The Saints have a pretty interesting schedule coming up. They definitely could use him. They got the Falcons this weekend. So, but then they have the Titans and then they have the Eagles.
Those are 3 winnable games.
Exactly. And if you need players, this is what we need to do here. You got to try to get him back in the fold and hopefully, maybe Drew Brees comes back and he gets his partner in crime back and he can go out and have some fun. But if it's Taysom Hill, what are you going to get out of it? I mean, he was still Taysom's biggest target. He was his number 1 target when he was there for, last year for those 4 starts. Then again, though, we're talking about Taysom Hill and the production that came out. He's not a pass first quarterback.
No.
So Michael Thomas, we want him back. Some people have stashed him all season and he's going to come back to Taysom Hill as his quarterback. You're definitely kicking, you kicked yourself and, shot yourself in the foot, however you want to slice it. It's a tough play.
Yeah, it's definitely rough. I'm gonna do some research on the fly here regarding the connection with Thomas and Hill over the past couple of years, just to make sure I'm not thinking crazy here that it might actually be an okay thing. But at the same time, looking at Taysom Hill, like you said, he's not a pass first guy. He never has been a pass first guy, and again, looking at the passing game here and what he's done, let's see if I can pull up stats. I'm gonna falter here because it's automatically reverting me to 2021. I don't want 2021. I want 2020. Damn it. Yes. An average of let's see here. It's crazy because
week 1.
Yeah.
Preseason.
Where is it? I can't even find the information. This is terrible. This is absolutely terrible. I mean, he was averaging anywhere between 230 and 290. So probably average off. He's around like 240, 250 in the passing yardage game. 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in 4 starts. So, I mean, doesn't necessarily scream production like you said.
No.
For what he can do, but very accurate with the ball. He averaged 72% on his completion percentage last year. So, I mean, that's among the higher completion percentages in the league. So from that aspect, you at least know he can get the ball there, which obviously helps. I mean, from a fantasy quarterback perspective, I don't know. I don't know what to make of that, really, because even his rushing attempts were okay, I guess, in those starts. He had 49, 44, 83, and 33 in the yardage. So adding an extra 3 or 4 points, which I guess in the grand scheme of things isn't bad. But I don't know. There's not a lot I'm not really comfortable in trusting.
No.
That could, go well for Michael Thomas once he does return, and Taysom Hill just as an option when it's all said.
And I have his stats with Hill as the quarterback. He had 9 receptions in week 11 for 104 yards, no touchdowns whatsoever. Week 12, 4 catches for 50. Week 13, 9, 105, and week 14, 8 and 81. So that's 30 catches for 340 yards. Yeah, as much as we want him back, I think we're talking ourselves into, we're looking for some other options at this point, huh?
Yeah, it's. I'm gonna do one more stat here. I'm playing with RotoViz numbers. Not sure if this is necessarily going to work, but we're going to try it anyway. It's not going to do it because the difficult thing is. Taysom plays in every game, so you can't necessarily do games he didn't play and games he did play, because obviously he played in all of them in some shape or form. I'm going to see if this works here. Okay, so in the games that Taysom Hill had more than 77 passing yards last year, so obviously the games that he started, Michael Thomas averaged 16 points per game in fantasy. 7 catches.
Okay.
85 yards. Didn't score a touchdown, but 7 catches for 85 yards. It's not bad.
No.
I mean, what is that extrapolated at? I can't do math off
I mean,
the top of my head here either. 85
Excuse
times.
me, we were just talking about it, you know.
Yeah, 1,400 yards. I mean, that's a pretty solid pace. So, did I freeze? I think I froze.
I thought
Maybe
you
I
did.
Did I?
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay, I don't. It was quiet there. I didn't know what happened.
Yeah, I think we might have froze. I don't know what just happened. You're good though. You're good. You're good. It was all that Taysom Hill talk. It just fucking freezes fantasy altogether. It's not good for sort of.
Up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, not a terrible connection by any means.
And Taysom Hill's available in most rosters. You know, I think he's rostered in like 20% of the leagues. You know, and he's probably your number one QB option for the waiver wire, which we'll probably get to later. But yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, it's not great. It's not bad. Are there other options that you might be able to get that average out at this point of the season? I don't know. That's an interesting.
I mean, if Justin Fields keeps running for 100 yards a game, that could easily be one. But yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Should we do waiver wire? Or should we do starts and sits here? Which one should we do first?
Yeah, you pick. I'm letting you go. You go with the flow here. You're the captain now.
Okay, I'm the captain now. We'll do waiver wire. Okay. We'll connect here on the waiver wire. We'll break it all down here. So week 9, obviously, you know, we talked about the Adrian Petersons of the world. If you were smart like Mr. Chris Jackle, you picked them up Monday.
Got lucky.
It's amazing how many people did though. When the news broke and how many people rushed to the waiver wire and were like, "Thank you."
Yeah.
Didn't cross my mind because Yahoo and ESPN took forever to get him rostered and lock him. And so he just sat out there as a free agent because he wasn't signed.
Yep.
Kill me.
Yeah. Hey, what are you going to do? But I think he was rostered in 2% of the leagues I read when I was just doing a little bit of research regarding AP. And then is it McNichols? He's rostered in 7%. So with respects to the two backs over there in Tennessee, there's an obvious chance you could spend some bread, like you said, or if you have the old school waiver wire, hey, maybe you get lucky and you can pick them up. You know,
absolutely.
But who do you have over there that you like? I mean, you want to start with quarterbacks? Do you want to just kind of jump around? What are you feeling for the waiver wire?
You know, the one guy that I really like, and he's not getting a ton of talk right now, but I think he will be in due time because Urban Meyer is just an idiot. I'm going to start at wide receiver. A guy that is going to, I believe, turn into a very decent PPR floor type player that will do well for your teams if you're really struggling at wide receiver. And that's Jamal Agnew with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was thrown into the slot play there in Jacksonville after the injury to DJ Chark, and Laviska Shenault was pushed outside where he is not a very good wide receiver by any means. And like the numbers for Agnew aren't going to pop off the page. Like that's the thing you got to keep in mind here. But from a PPR perspective, the last, we'll call it 3 games, he had 7 targets, 6 targets, and 12 targets in the last 3 games in those setups there. So 25 targets in his last 3 games, 17 catches. 17 catches in those games as well. So the yardage isn't necessarily there, but if you're in full PPR leagues, you're talking 5-6 points on receptions alone. And then he's been averaging anywhere between 40 and 75 yards per game. And so when it's all said and done, here you got a guy that's, 9 to 12 points in full PPR leagues, and then throw in, the opportunistic touchdown when obviously Jacksonville is going to be playing from behind rather often. It's not going to go well for that team for the remainder of the year. We saw how terrible they were against Seattle, and Seattle's defense sucks. I don't care what you say. They suck.
They're bad.
you know, it's not going to get much better for him. But they're going to have to pass, and as long as Jamal Agnew stays in that slot role, he's going to put up numbers that will help you down the stretch if you need that wide receiver help, especially if guys like Robbie Anderson are going to throw goose eggs.
No, I told you last week, man. It was no bueno, man. He's got cool hair. You know, he's an island boy. You know, with that haircut. But you know, I don't know. I just yeah. That's a good pick. We might have talked about Agnew a couple weeks ago. I think he was someone that we thought maybe kind of coming into his own. He had like one good week, and I think we kind of brushed, you know, just kind of touched on that real quick. But he's a good pickup, I think, for a team that's got to toss the ball around a lot. Yeah, that's a nice one, Steven. Good choice, man.
Who you got a wide receiver?
You know, it's tough. Like there's a lot of dudes out there that are still like rostered in like a third of the league, you know, like the Rashad Batemans are still out there, the Hunter Renfros, you know, Devontae Parker, hit or miss type of guys. But I like Van Jefferson Jr. With over 13 targets over the past 2 weeks. He's on the field all the time, Steven. You know, I don't have this stat for, you know, snap shares, but when I read it, I was kind of surprised because it was so high. He's a guy that made Deshaun Jackson say, "Hey, get me out of LA." I'm getting surpassed by the young buck, which is fine, you know, and NFL, you know, and they let him go try to seek a trade. And I don't even think that came to fruition for him, right? He's still on the team.
He was granted his release today.
Oh, he did get released. Okay, good for him.
Yes.
You know, maybe we can do some releasing here in Chicago. You know, but I kind of like Van Jefferson Jr. I think he's a player that you can go out and get. He's not rostered in a lot of leagues. Definitely on the come up with respects to targets, similar to your boy Agnew that you were just talking about. 13 targets in 2 games. It's nothing to sniff at. The Rams are going to be putting up some points. The ball is going to be in their hands a ton of times. They just added Von Miller, not like 2017 Von Miller, but still they added Von Miller. And that defense is scary. It just means the offense is going to be able to have some fun out there. And I think that means production for Mr. Jefferson Jr.
Absolutely. One of my favorite rookies coming out of the class last year. And I tell you, he's got it. It's just a matter of stringing together some more consistency. And now that he's got a little bit more cushion there as that wide receiver 3, I think it definitely could happen down the stretch. And if not this year, definitely a year 3 breakout candidate in Van Jefferson to keep your eye on, but I think he'll get it well before that. Yeah. Definitely this year. You had mentioned just a quick comment here, Hunter Renfro, another guy that was on my list. Obviously, everybody aware of what happened today with Henry Ruggs. His NFL career is over. That is the end of it. He's charged with DUI that led to murder. With a car crash that happened in Vegas early this morning. I'll tell you what, folks, get an Uber. Like
the NFL has a car service. I think every team has a car service. It's ridiculous that these young kids, I feel so bad for the family that lost their loved one, but also Mr. Ruggs that just literally pissed his fucking career away because he did not, make a good choice, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah,
and turning it back to Renfro. Sorry, I'm making it sad here, but
all good.
You started it. What the fuck?
I know. I'm sorry. Yeah, former first round pick a year ago, and
he's on my dynasty team. I dropped him shortly thereafter.
Pain. But Renfro. I mean, before all of this happened today, PPR wise, great option in the slot, especially with the way that the Raiders have kind of looked rejuvenated since John Gruden left town. Not sure if that's necessarily going to be the case this weekend, given all of the fun that's currently around the roster as it stands right now. But at the same time, his arrow's only going to go up. It's just him and Edwards right now in that system. And so it's got a pretty solid opportunity to put up some good stats here down the stretch. It was on bye last week, but the week before, 7 catches for 58 yards for Hunter Renfro in game against the Eagles. So again, opportunity is there for Renfro, whether it is expected or not. You roll with the punches. Logan, you just look up Henry Ruggs' name. You'll find it everywhere.
He drove his brand new Chevy Corvette into the back of a RAV4 at 4:00 in the morning and killed someone.
Yep.
Under the influence of some sort of substance, and he was charged, arrested for.
I think we froze up. I might have frozen up. Oh, there you are.
I don't know if that's me. That was odd.
I don't know what it was.
That's twice that's happened. That's really strange. I did an internet test before we jumped on. I had a high speed. I don't even have Wi-Fi.
It's probably me. It's probably
just don't hit the red button yet.
I haven't touched it in months. Thank you. And I'm not on my phone. I'm not on my phone. Cherise says it's you. So it's you. I think you might have frozen again. I don't know what's happening. Well,
you do it one time. Whoa. I think it's me.
Yeah, it is you. I don't have the warning signal. I don't know what's happening. He keeps freezing. We're going to try it here. Let's do this trick. I think this trick may work. I'm going to pull you off. I'm going to bring you back. Reset you. You're moving now. That means your internet's better. Oh, he's gone. Okay. Well, in the meantime here, while we're waiting for Jackle to return, let's talk a little bit more about waiver wire pickups for week number 9. Let's talk some running back, shall we? I think running back's a solid place to continue the conversation and get things rolling. Jackal will be back here in a second. We saw in Philadelphia there was. Are you back? Are you moving? Are you?
Oh, how do I? How's it going? I don't know.
You're better now. You're better now, and that's all that matters. Yeah. We'll just leave it at that. You'll be good. You'll be good. We're moving to running back here. Obviously, one of the bigger names, it was kind of the question mark on who was going to get the carries in Philadelphia while Miles Sanders was on the IR. Not like he really got that many carries to begin with. But Boston Scott getting the opportunity and really taking it and running with it. 12 carries, 60 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, we also saw a little bit of action from Jordan Howard, shockingly, in that game as well.
That popped up on my phone. I was like, holy shit, we were talking about him, I think, on DHL last week. It was wild. I was like, Jordan Howard sighting. Good for him.
Yeah, he surprising to say the least, but Boston Scott's only rostered in 19%. I'd say that Boston Scott probably has it locked down, if I had to guess. And obviously, you got a couple more weeks without said Miles Sanders, maybe even more than that, depending on how long that ankle injury takes to get back. But again, a very opportunistic player who has put up some pretty solid yards when given the opportunity as well in Philadelphia in the past. And, hasn't really done too much this year with the new regime in town. But on the flip side of that, the time is now, and it seems like the time is paying off well for him to get the ball rolling up there in the city of brotherly love. So I would say Boston Scott is my pickup at running back.
I like that.
How about you?
Surprised. I mean, it's funny, and I just want to piggyback that, Stephen. We were talking about Kenneth Gainwell, about a guy to add last week, and how he was going to be the dude, right, taking over, and now he's the guy to drop. He's like, it's how the tides will turn, and how quickly those things it's like the wind in Chicago, But hey, nonetheless, my pick is a guy we've talked about all season. He's been on the Ravens. He's in that running back committee, but it's Devonta Freeman. I think, rostered in 22% of the leagues. He's finding the end zone. I just think he's a guy that at this point of the season, you're trying to survive a bye or whether it's a heel injury to whomever, or an ankle or a hammy. Still, Mr. Freeman's 29, still got a little gas in the tank. He's showing that. He's got, a week 9 matchup against Minnesota. He's somebody I think you could bank on for at least double-digit points. And if he gets into the end zone, I think you have a shot at actually having a decent day there. Freeman is, like I said, rostered in less than, pretty much 1 out of 5 leagues, just over 20%. And not that he's going to get you really excited. But like I said, we're trying to fill needs right now. I'm not going to say what I wanted to say, so Shane could cut that. We're just trying to, place them
so
where
well
they need.
This week.
Yeah, we're trying to place them where they need to go. And I think that he's a guy that's available and can give you some production.
All right, let's.
Anybody else in the running backs that I know we picked 2, but I mean, there's a couple guys. What about Derrick Gore?
That blew my mind watching that Monday night game and thinking, who the hell is Derrick Gore? I think that was the main question everybody had on their minds once that game happened. I'm not sold on it. I think it was more of an anomaly than anything to what the Chiefs are doing. I don't think the Chiefs really still know what they're doing to try and get this season back on track. And even though they did come away with the victory against the Giants, it still didn't look pretty. It did not look pretty. That still looks like a broken team. And so they're just going to try whatever the heck they can to get it moving. And, hopefully at some point, get back to their Super Bowl ways. But hey, that Super Bowl loser curse continues. It just looks like it just leaves teams in shambles the following year at the rate that things go. Cherie, what we got here? Do you think Marlon Mack will get moved? I don't think he got moved today, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Frank Reich actually said that he came out today and said that they weren't going to trade him. They actually like Marlon Mack. He was at practice today, and with a guy that actually got carries late, meaningful carries last week. He got, I think it was a big 3rd down play. They didn't go to Jonathan Taylor. They actually went to Marlon Mack. It just speaks to what Frank Wright feels that he has in that running back group. So I don't see him going anywhere. But prior to 4:00 today, I thought there was a good chance that he would get moved. Despite what he was saying, just thought maybe it was some smoke and mirrors trying to drum up some, try to go from the 6th round to a 5th round pick or something. Not that Mac would get you that, but
Right. So. Yeah, I think a lot of people forget just how boring the NFL trade deadline is, and they were expecting some magic to change everything.
Because there's some trades that make sense, There's like OBJ's dad came out and just shit all over Baker Mayfield with video. It just destroyed him, and I was like, God damn! I mean, you almost have to trade OBJ at this point, saying that he's not throwing on the ball on purpose, and it's like. How's practice going to be tomorrow? It's like, holy shit.
It's awkward. Is that the best way to put it? It's just awkward for what goes on.
They're pros, right? I guess stranger shit has happened. There's just to circle it back to fantasy and not, shenanigans inside the locker room, but James Robinson, heel injury. Carlos Hyde comes in. 15 touches, 72 all-purpose yards. That's surprising.
I thought we were
Excuse
over
me. And it is Jacksonville. Exactly. No, you're absolutely right.
I know. It just pains me.
Same exact thing over in Washington with the Washington football team. Jarrett Patterson. He had 3 more carries than Gibson. Something to keep an eye on. If you're looking at week 10, 11, you may need a back. Maybe Patterson turns this into something and you sneak in you're able to pull something off. Think ahead, a little foresight here. Those are just a couple of guys I'm throwing out there. Talk about Derrick Gore. And if I'm freezing again, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
All right, good. But there's nothing there. I'd like to see myself get a couple of those guys, to be honest.
Well, it's funny because every week I try convincing myself that I've got a team left with bidding dollars I'm like, all right, I can blow it this week. The injuries are over. Nope.
No.
Like it's just like this rolling this boulder that cannot be stopped. I think that's the best way to put it.
I thought it was COVID last year with like the lack of spring
Oh
training and our spring like the preseason and everything. And no, it's just
it's rough. It's rough, but what can you do?
Yeah.
Tight end. You got anybody at tight end?
I had one name on there somewhere. Big catch last week, Pat Fairmouth. I mean, he did something, delivered that highlight catch against Cleveland, or Tyler Conklin. Just look at the targets. That's all you really need to do. And Darren Arnold was another guy. I pretty much named all three that you were probably going to pick one of those, right? Dan Arnold was your guy. All right. So,
I will Mercedes Lewis with the Packers as well. Now that there's no,
I thought they were going to try to get a tight end actually.
There was talk around Evan Ingram, and it never happened. I was a little surprised, but then again, the Packers don't do anything when it comes to the trade deadline. So on the flip side of that, I wasn't entirely shocked.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers was talking on McAfee today, and he said he had talked to the front office and just had some conversations, saying maybe there were some players possibly. He didn't come out and say it, but he alluded to it. But he didn't anticipate it because he said their cap situation sucks, and he was pretty straightforward with it. And he said Packers fans need to understand that, which I thought was kind of interesting,
because he takes up 45% of their cap.
Yeah, fucking douche. Yeah. John Wick, you fucking hump. Yeah, whatever. Fucking cool hair, bro. Sorry. Fucking Packers.
Tell us how you really feel.
I'm just sick of this shit, dude. Fucking guys invaded my second favorite show I like to listen to. I got to listen to this asshole come on Tuesdays now and fucking talk about how great he is. It's like, great, sweet dude.
It's not fun. It's not fun.
Whatever. Anyway, so you brought up, we had a couple tight ends. We were kind of right on par, you and I. I mean, I didn't say,
I mean, Pat Freiermuth, I will continue to yell his name until he is rostered to the extent that he deserves to be, especially now that Eric Ebron has been on the shelf with a hamstring injury. You got to get him. He is going to put up numbers and going to do well in the Pittsburgh offense down the stretch. You need to get him if you need tight end help. End of story. He will probably average well over 10 points per game in PPR leagues down the stretch. If I had to put money on it, that would be my bet. He is a very, very athletic tight end, and he is going to make teams pay for that exact reason. So definitely, I mean, if I had to beg people to pick somebody up, it would be that.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
and there's value. I mean, you've been pounding that tight end drum,
there's a lot there. There is. It may not seem like it. I know that Ricky Seals-Jones didn't necessarily have the greatest week last week, but again, the opportunity is there for these guys to get it done. You got to go after it. And again, Dan Arnold, like you had mentioned as well, another guy there that has that opportunity just based on the volume and the amount of passing plays that the Jaguars are going to run. Plain and simple. Quarterbacks.
Well, we talked about Taysom Hill, right? Like he's a dude that's out there. I'm as we're thinking and we're talking, I'm actually going to say, would you stream Mike White Thursday night?
Yes, I would. I love the fact that Mike White is doing what he's doing right now. I wasn't anticipating it whatsoever, but after he came in for Zach Wilson, there was a little bit of like he's pretty decent here. He 20 of 32, not terrible, but interception wise, not great. And then he comes out, and the Cincinnati defense, let's get something straight about the Cincinnati defense. They're no pushover. They are no pushover when it comes to the yardage allowed. And he goes out there and lights it up for 405. 405 and 3 touchdowns. Yeah, he threw 2 interceptions, but
still,
my God. And now he gets Indy. I mean, they're formidable. But if there's anything I've learned, and I learned this last week, anything can happen on Thursday night. Anything can happen on Thursday night. I think he's worth the risk. Honestly, he has more wherewithal than Zach Wilson does, and it honestly wouldn't shock me if they stick with Mike White for the remainder of the season to let Zach Wilson kind of simmer. It is it's not something that would shock me at all.
And I'm with you. Yeah, I think Saleh came out and said after it was it Monday, it's not a quarterback competition, but he had all these like sayings and his coaching speak, and at the end of the day, he didn't commit to Zach Wilson playing when he came back, and it's like, maybe ride White Lightning to the see what you can get out of him, but or do they want to continue to suck and try to get some draft picks and try to move up in the draft? I don't know. But yeah, if you're trying to stream a guy, I was going to say somebody else, but I just kind of, I like Mike White for the pick this week for a streaming option.
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of talk around Justin Fields.
Yeah.
With the fact that he's, running the ball.
Yeah, but Nagy's coming back, so it's fucked. So it's like, it's all for naught.
Yeah, that's my issue. Is Matt Nagy's back? It's and we're spending money to go watch Matt Nagy return, and
they should just keep giving him the same COVID test result thing back every time he takes it. Just be like, here you go. Oh fuck, you're still positive, dude. Oh my god, dude, I don't know what's going on.
I know that every Bears fan out there was just praying that they would go out there and just throttle the Niners.
Yeah.
So they could say, "Oh, Nagy, we don't need you anymore. See ya. Here's your pink slip." We couldn't be that lucky.
They just can't score. They just can't.
Yeah. It's bad.
You score 30 points against the Bears, you win every time. I mean, it's sad that they just. But anyway, yeah.
Another show, another conversation.
Yeah, another show. 24 hours from now, we'll be 2 hours in.
Absolutely. There'll be plenty to talk about. Good old Pittsburgh Steelers Monday Night Football on tap.
The Manning brothers don't even want to go and watch it. They're fucking staying out of it. They're like, yeah, we're off. Nobody wants to go to the game. Shit. They're going to be giving away
except my Steelers loving wife.
Hey, good for her. Hey, she's going to enjoy it. You never know. The Bears could go there, and it's not like Pittsburgh is the greatest team out there, so they could go out there and put up a number, maybe 28 points if they're really clicking on all cylinders.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, really, outside of Mike White, though, outside of if you really want to get risky, Tua is still sitting out there.
Yeah.
There's something about him. He's got that floor that seems to be rolling. Really, other than that, it's slim pickings from my end. I don't know if there's any other guys.
Tyrod Taylor's coming back from IR. If you need, desperately.
I'm still not convinced he's going to start. There's something about the way that the Texans are talking this whole situation up.
It's Texans. They don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Well, that's the thing. You can't trust them. So it's like, do you waste this waiver wire move to go and get a guy to do what? Puncture another lung? I know.
But that was such an awful thing. I can't even believe that's like a real thing that happened. Like you fucking had a sewing needle stabbed into your lung, and Justin Herbert turns into like the
God.
man. And now, it's so crazy. I mean, the way things happen in sports, like that's the beautiful thing about it. One man's demise is another, opens up a door for somebody else.
Yeah, exactly.
And speaking of success, we're talking about some success in your starting lineup. So we trying to talk about a little start and sit action here, little glitches and cheat codes. What are we doing here, Mr. Johnson?
Look at this segue. Yeah, glitches and cheat codes. Let's go. It's our version of starts and sits. It's glitches and cheat codes. The guys we'd start, the guys we would sit for week number 9. We'll start from the top. We won't go mix and matching all around this time. Let's start with the quarterbacks.
All right.
Who you got?
Strong start. You know what? I'm going to start Kirk Cousins. I like him against Baltimore here. I think he put up a clunker week 8. And I feel that he has they're at that point. This is a typical Viking season. I think it screams Kirk Cousins game against Baltimore. It's all purple on the field. The Ravens are not going to know who to cover. I just think that I think Kirk Cousins is the guy I would start if you're looking to, comparing him to like a Matt Ryan, or even a Jimmy Garoppolo, guys that similar category. I'm staying away from. I'm gonna stick with my guns here, and I'm gonna start. That's who I'm starting. I think I just like that matchup. I like Kirk Cousins. He's got the weapons, solid run game. They're playing against Baltimore, who is hurting in the backfield or the defensive backfield. And I think it's just it's a good matchup. So I would start him over. I'd start him over Tannehill, considering how much he needs to throw the ball. That's how much I like Kirk Cousins right now. What about you?
I'm going against my fandom here. I think Ben Roethlisberger turns it around and torches the Bears on Monday night. What we saw on Sunday with the demise of the Bears defense was not a one-game thing. I don't believe that to be a situation in which they're going to get back on track. Obviously, they were talking about Khalil Mack potentially being on the IR, which in my mind says he ain't going to be back on Monday night. No Eddie Jackson. And despite everything that Eddie Jackson got and mostly deserved, there was a spark missing from that defense on the back end, especially on those outside runs in terms of where guys needed to be and having that second layer of defenders that just was not there with the guys that were in there at safety, and Elijah Mitchell just torching the Bears defense. And here we are. And again, Ben Roethlisberger doesn't necessarily have the arm that he used to have, but he's got the weapons, some of the best weapons of his career between Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, Najee Harris, Freiermuth, like we had talked about
Claypool
already.
Stinks.
Just very, very good players. And over the last 2 weeks, the Bears are a shade behind the Baltimore Ravens for allowing the most points to quarterback over the last two games.
See, Logan, that's why my pick works, damn it.
It's again a not so great time, and especially on the road. I'm not feeling too confident about said Bears defense going up against the ancient Big Ben, despite the fact that just kind of
hopefully bops his baloney and hurts his elbow again and he can't play and they got to go with some other bum. Who knows? But yeah, you're probably fucking right. Hurts, Steven. Think about it.
It's painful. It's painful. What about do we go over sits for quarterbacks? No, we didn't.
I gave a couple earlier. I think Tannehill is going to struggle week 9. The adjustment is going to be a big thing. I think playing against the Rams, it's a bad matchup to lose your biggest weapon and trying to figure it all out on the fly. Granted, a weekend, you're bringing in AP, but again, he's going to have to throw the ball a lot probably. And I don't know if that's a good thing against this Rams defense. I think he's a guy that you probably want to sit, even though he's going to have to throw the ball a lot. And he could put up 375 yards, 3 touchdowns, 6 picks, or, who knows. But I'm scared of that matchup. The Rams are clicking on all cylinders. And I think for this week alone, I'm sitting Tannehill.
Okay. Yeah. I'm there with you. I'm also going to be staying far, and this is really just for the rest of the season. As far as I'm concerned, Matt Ryan, I think you can just pretty much put a fork in him for the remainder of the season with the way that things have gone. And going up against the Saints, which has been no easy task, who have been really killing it for the last few games here.
No Ridley either.
Yeah, it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough. They've only allowed 5 touchdowns over the last 4 games, and are averaging less than 200 passing yards against as well. So really doing a solid job there on the passing end of things. You know, it's not great, great when it's all said and done. But hey, you know, it's going into the dome, as we all know, as Tom Brady knows, not an easy task. Yeah. And that's what Matt Ryan has up against him. And as we saw last week, not necessarily too great of an opportunistic player as one Matt Ryan without Calvin Ridley and a depleted passing game in Atlanta. Running back. Where are we going?
Well, I just want to add, and I'm wondering if it will second this, just as a friendly reminder, stay away from Justin Fields this week. I think, you know, you're chasing those last week numbers, and we're Bears fans. I just think he's a guy. I mean, if you want to try to get him and hold on to him, maybe make a run later on as he turns it around, as he just, you know, demonstrated. Apparently he's, you know, the second coming of Jesus now because of last week's game, according to the pundits. But, you know, it's, yeah, I'm just a little nervous of that matchup, kind of what you were talking about with respects to going into Pittsburgh, big Monday night game. Get a little nervous there. Granted, they just traded, would they trade Melvin Ingram? He wasn't playing much, you know, but still.
He had one sack in 6 games.
Yeah, I get nervous. I'd let Fields. He's available in a lot because a lot of people dropped him. So if you can get him and maybe look to play him later on down the season, if he continues to do this, but it's just I'd kind of pump the brakes on him right now. But we're talking about running backs anyway, so I just wanted to throw it out there. My start, Michael Carter, playing against Indy.
Ooh,
tons of volume, both running and passing. But guess what? He's their goal line choice too. And the Colts aren't. That defense is not as daunting as it seems. Michael Carter had a huge week last week. A rookie that is just. I know you and I talked about him preseason. You know, in our the infancy stages to the show. I mean, still kind of in the infancy stages, but we liked him, and we looked at this kind of. We thought Javonte Williams would be making that transition to the number 1 back by now. It looks like that it's Michael Carter, and he is, I think, for all intents and purposes. Granted that, you know, he's going to help Mr. White. That could be a great little tandem right now. I think he's going to have a great night Thursday night. He's my start against the Colts.
All right, and Michael Carter. Oh, man, I love seeing it because there's so many people bashing his size and not understanding just how well he was doing at North Carolina last year before he was drafted by the Jets. And to see him do what he's doing, and it's slowly been coming along here, and now really that they've been able to open things up with a quarterback that's actually passing the ball and getting it down the field. It's been great to see him finally get his legs under him and actually push the ball out there. So love that pick. Yeah. My guy, we talked about him a little bit earlier in the chat here regarding waiver wire pickups. I'm going back to the Boston Scott game for what the Eagles have coming up here. The Chargers defense has not been too great against the running game. They have given up 9 rushing touchdowns. That is the 3rd most in the league this year. They're much better against the pass catching variety of running backs, which would obviously lean a little bit more towards the Kenny Gainwells of the world. And it's probably going to be a shove the ball down the throat type game for this Eagles offense, and leading the way would be Scott on the ground. Again, just overall fantastic opportunity for him to pick up right where he left off. Like I mentioned, 3rd most touchdowns allowed, 2nd most yards allowed as well. So again, a lot of people not really realizing just how bad the Chargers defense has been, but they've been pretty damn bad against the run. And so an opportunistic time here for the Eagles running game to get moving along for week number 9. As for a sit,
Ooh, tough one.
I go back and forth with a couple guys here. I'm not
good. Let me know what your thoughts are. Give me, because I have a couple myself, so I'm curious if we're on the similar ilk here.
I hate saying his name because I feel like he's bound to go off at any given time, but I don't believe this is the week that it's going to happen. I know that the Browns defense hasn't been good, but this doesn't feel like a Joe Mixon game to me.
Okay. Big rivalry game. You don't like? Okay. All right.
No, there's something about it. I just cannot wrap my mind around as to why I don't like it. Because like I said, the Browns defense, they've been kind of against the run, especially over the last month. They've been kind of middle of the pack-ish in terms of points per game allowed. The running numbers aren't, popping off of the page. They've allowed 341 rushing yards over the last 4 weeks. Only 3 touchdowns and really nothing in the receiving game. So I just don't think it's going to be a game that things are really going to get going for him there. And really, with the way that the Browns started the season against the run, it's only a matter of time, I think, until they kind of get back on track and really get things moving. Maybe with all the internal issues that the Browns are having, this is the wrong week to bet on them, but not a big fan of Joe Mixon this week.
Okay.
Logan says you should sit him, so listen to me.
I know. I got a big matchup with Logan. I took a big L against that Thursday night matchup. Just destroyed me, man. Freaking Hopkins and Murray stack. I got 17 points out of those two.
Nowhere.
And it took a freaking beating. Mr. Cox took me down, and I deserve it. I got, he beat me fair and square, and I made nothing but Ralphie was so excited. I mean, I didn't know that someone could take so much joy in someone else losing in fantasy, saying that Jackle's luck needs to end. I'm sick of this shit. And I was like, Jesus Christ, dude. I was like, it's fantasy sports, you got to have a little luck on your side.
You get the anger birds out.
Yeah, I love Ralphie. It was all good fun, I sent him a message halfway through, and I realized I was getting my freaking, my nose rubbed in it. I was just like, well, Ralphie, you got your way. The luck's run out, man. So, hey, Logan, your team stinks. You're not going anywhere. You've got too many injuries. So sorry. I'm the one with the microphone, so I guess I could say that, but I'll let him pop in there. I
have the power to mute you.
Yes. He got killed by the injury bug, but yeah. Anyway, sorry, man. I love that league. It's good. It's fun, by the way. The TTNL One Up Fantasy Football League. I'm not sure how much trash talk goes on your end. You got some characters over there, but we got some guys that love to chop it up, and lots of trades, lots of stuff going on. I think I have like
Claudio's been quiet because he's been losing.
Oh,
so it's kind of disappeared.
All right,
from the radar with the way things have been going there.
Who do you have week starters for running backs? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, week start. Yeah, who are we not starting?
I'm Debbie Downer. I feel like this week I'm like anti-Bear. I feel that Khalil Herbert is the guy to sit. Look what happened to Nick Chubb last week against Pittsburgh. He had like 10 fantasy points. I was hoping for big things. Pittsburgh stifled the run there. I think Herbert may run into a wall this week. Bears could be up against it. I don't know. I just have a bad feeling. I actually picked my pick while we were talking before. When we were talking about Joe, and I brought up Justin Fields because I felt that the other two guys that I really don't like this week are the running backs in Denver. with Gordon and Williams. I just think playing against Dallas, what they're doing against the run, those two dudes make me nervous in their committee. So I'd stay away technically all three of those guys. So, sorry, Stephen, if those were one of yours, but that's what I was thinking about on the running back side.
No, all good. I got my mix and hate out of the way for the week.
All right,
so
good.
I'm just gonna leave it at that and call it a day.
Perfecto. Because there's some guys that make you nervous, like Dearness Johnson, Tony Pollard. I don't know.
I can't believe Dearness Johnson was a thing again. I didn't think he was really going to do much.
Well, he did so well the other game.
He had a touchdown. And
he looked
Thursday
good,
games. Thursday games.
Right.
That's
Stop yelling at me, Dad.
Gosh. Just, again, running back in general this year has been such a maze of confusion to try and work out. And God, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I don't think anybody knows what to make of it, but here we are. Here we are. Wide receiver. I'm gonna go. Oh, I don't like this, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Brandon Cooks. With the
malcontent, Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, as we all know, Brandon Cooks not too happy. He's on a really bad team.
He wanted out
down in Houston. But the Miami Dolphins defense is bad. It is really, really bad. They're second in most touchdowns allowed, third in total yards allowed against wide receivers, including the most over the last 4 weeks. It's going to be a messy game. It's probably going to be a game yet again where Houston's going to find themselves inside of the negative game script with everything else going on. Yeah. And again, it's going to be a mess. It's going to be a mess, and it should be a mess to also benefit one Brandon Cooks, even though, again, he's not happy, he's grumpy, but he still produces all the time. And it's something you can't turn away from, which is the crazy thing, because I think everybody's just kind of fed up with it, but trying to figure out what goes on with the rest of that Texans defense or offense, I should say. But really the last couple games, he had a little bit of a dud against the Cardinals, but 3 weeks ago, 9 for 89 against the Colts, has 6 for 83 and a touchdown against the Rams. And they caused bettors everywhere to pull their hair out and cover the spread in like a rampant 10-minute end of the game on Sunday. But again, should be another solid opportunity for Brandon Cooks to put up some decent points this week. How about you?
T. Higgins is my start. I think I like Mr. Higgins. We talked about him last week and the week before. We were worried about the man, but the targets were up. He had a huge catch last week, brought him back to some fantasy relevance again. He's still wide receiver 2 on a very potent offense. With Joe Mixon running the ball very well in week 9. I think that, sorry, Stephen, I need that. So I just had to say that out loud to talk it into, talk it into existence. No, but I just, I think the day that he had, almost 100 yards is just almost like T. Higgins of 2020. I like the play. They're playing against Cleveland, rivalry game. They want to try to put a number up. They just got beat by a shitty team, and they're kind of like, all right, we got to show everybody we're for real. How else do we go out and do that? We go hang a number up on the Browns. And who is going to help them do that? Not only is it Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon, but our boy T. Higgins. And I'm looking at another solid target, a bunch of targets coming his way like every week. But this is going to equate to some catches this week, just like it did last week. And I think we're on that train, trending in the right direction. Hop on that T. Higgins train. Let's roll. T. Higgins is my guy. Start that man.
He's got a very healthy amount of targets at the rate that he's been rolling with that there. So definitely love T. Higgins as an option. And definitely if you're getting a little aggravated with the fact he hasn't necessarily been putting up the stats, it's going to come. It's going to catch up with what he's been able to get on the field from Joe Burrow. So definitely an opportunity.
Only got 2 touchdowns this year, and it happened in week 1 and 2. He's what they say, he's due. And I'm hoping that equates to something in terms of points for you out there and your fantasy rosters as you look to make that playoff push.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
As far as sits are concerned, or our glitches for the week, not a big fan of. I feel like this is the week where Jalen Hurts is finally shut up in terms of his fantasy production, despite the Eagles looking terrible in terms of an offensive opportunity. And I know that I said Scott would be the running back, but from a passing perspective, despite just how terrible the Chargers are at stopping the run, they are very, very good at stopping opposing pass players. And Devonta Smith, I don't think this is a week that you really want to go after him. Yes, he's had a great target share. Yes, he's put up a decent amount of opportunity, and it's equated to some decent numbers for a rookie wide receiver with a pedigree like his. But it's not going to go well for him against this Chargers defense. They are very, very good at limiting every opportunity when the ball is thrown through the air, and I can't trust Jalen Hurts to do that. Yeah, maybe he'll run for 80, 90 yards on the ground, but that's going to be because the passing opportunities are not there for him. Thus, it's going to hurt Smith this week. I do not like him whatsoever as an option. If you got him as an option at wide receiver.
Yeah, he had 3 really good matchups, right? The last 3 weeks, and nothing has come out of it. That's a good call, man.
How about you?
Similar, another rookie, a teammate, Jalen Waddle from the Miami Dolphins going against Houston. I think with Parker being back and Gesicki just being that, those two seem to be the favorites for Tua. And that just leaves Waddle as the third option, third wheel, the redheaded stepchild, however you want to look at it, just the guy that's not going to put up fantasy points. It sucks because there was a time, I think the emergence of Devontae Parker being healthy again, hopefully, is going to hurt him. And he's a guy that you want to see do well. I think as a fan, you see the potential. But unfortunately, in terms of comfortability and a bond and connection, I think Tua is clearly clicking with Mike and Devontae more than he is with Mr. Waddle. So he's the guy that I'm looking to stay away from this week.
All right.
Yeah.
Tight end. Who's your start?
I like a revenge game. I've said it a few times today, and we have. Actually, I don't want to pick now. I'm taking that back. I'm walking off that. Yeah.
Do you want me to go first?
No. I like. I think Hunter Henry actually is going to have a big game against Carolina. He's the guy. The pressure, and now that I say it, I was like, shit. Hunter Henry had a rivalry game last week. So now here we are this week. Less pressure, maybe he performs, and he's a guy I just actually put a trade offer in for him today, in a package deal. He's a guy that I think maybe looking to do something, and playing Carolina, they stink, and you got a shot at putting up some numbers here. So that's my pick at tight end. What about you, sir?
All right. There's been a lot of talk about the fact that the Baltimore Ravens had a bad run of stats against tight ends early on because they were going up the likes of Travis Kelce and Darren Waller and this whole group, but it really hasn't stopped. And it's not necessarily a great thing there. I'm going Tyler Conklin. Tyler Conklin of the Minnesota Vikings as a guy. I think
like
if you're gonna look for a touchdown dependent option, Conklin is probably your guy with the way that the Baltimore Ravens have been up against tight ends this year. You look even what TJ Uzoma was able to do against the Baltimore Ravens. It's not something that really equates to a lot of confidence that they would be able to stop that position in the near term here. And Conklin's been pretty decent. I mean, the last 2 games that he's played in, he's gotten you 10 full PPR points per game. That's a solid window there for a guy that has really been kind of flying under the radar for a lot of people. Even if he did have a little bit of heat under him from a waiver wire perspective earlier this year after Irv Smith Jr. went down with the season-ending injury before the season kicked off. But an opportunity here for Conklin to come out of this bye. Or second week out of the bye, I should say, with a full head of steam. And he sits.
Like you know what? I like this one. Okay. We just talked about, you love him, Mr. Fairmouth, playing against the Bears. The Bears actually have some good numbers against tight ends.
They do.
I as we talk, I saw that. I was like, you know what? I maybe look to sit him. I figured that's not who you were going to go with, so I went there. The good rook there against at home on a Monday night against the Bears. Maybe he's the guy they actually stop. Who knows? But I'm going to pick Pat, as the Bears do play well against tight ends.
It is possible, and you are correct. The Bears allowing the second least amount of points in the league to the position. So, I guess if there's a team to do it against, maybe the Bears.
Yeah.
Maybe. Don't know. But opportunity may be there. Again, really, I try to think, did the Niners really have much of any tight end production last week? And the only answer that's coming to my mind is no. It was Sanu, it was Ayuk, and it was Deebo Samuel. And that was about it. In terms of the passing game for the Niners. So, I mean, they have shut teams down so far this year, only allowing 225 receiving yards to tight ends.
Thank you,
so
Stephen
far in 2021. So, actually, it's tied for the least. They're actually tied for the least with the Arizona Cardinals. The only reason that the Arizona Cardinals are a little bit less in the points per game is because the Bears have allowed 1 touchdown to the tight end. Arizona has allowed 0. So there's your breakdown and reason for that.
Thank you. I like that. Look at that. See that how that works, Stephen? A little, we played together. We played well there. Go ahead. Who do you got?
I'm gonna continue to ride this train to no man's land, and really I think almost to a cut land, and that'd be Tyler Higbee. This ain't the time, the place, or anything in between to play him. For as well as Matthew Stafford is doing with the Rams, I don't know what the hell's going on with Tyler Higbee that he cannot get involved, especially with a quarterback who had a history of hooking up on a fair amount of passing opportunities with whoever his tight end was in Detroit. And I wish I knew what was going on there, because it makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. But the Titans defense also very good against the pass catching tight ends as well. They are giving up the 7th least amount of points in the league to the position. And it's just not something that you want to write home about in terms of an opportunity for one said Tyler Higbee, who might be on the chopping block on fantasy rosters after the end of this week.
All right.
So,
I like that. Yeah, great matchups for the wide receivers. Just shit.
Yeah.
and yeah, when you compound that with Higbee just being awful, that's a good choice, man.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
No,
but nothing has made a whole lot of sense
No,
this year
not this
when
year.
it comes to the overall setup of fantasy football land. But that's the fun of the game,
Ain't
right?
that the truth? Ain't that the truth? Speaking of fun of the game, we have some buys this week. And in case you were wondering, Detroit, Seattle, Tampa, and Washington. Thursday night is the Jets versus Indianapolis. And we talked about the Monday night matchup of Chicago at Pittsburgh. Stephen will be in attendance.
That we will be in attendance for.
Yes, sir.
I know I am going, but I hate that I'm spending money to go watch this.
You can get tickets right now for 50-yard line, 25 rows up for, I think, $140.
Don't say that to me, please.
I might get a seat right next to you.
You might. You just might. I'm sitting, I'm sitting like the 40-yard line, 6th row, and the amount of money that I paid before the season.
I'm going to try to sit in front of you.
God, don't.
Just kidding. I wouldn't do that to you.
I would cry. I would cry. It's bad, but hey, my wife is a diehard Steelers fan. We have not missed a Bears Steelers game since we've been together. So this will be game number 3, dating back to 2013. So looking forward to it. She's looking forward to potentially seeing her first Steelers win against the Bears. I'm praying that doesn't happen because obviously that's a long car ride back to Chicago. It's all said and done. 8 hours in a car. Not a bad. It's a good time.
There's some things you guys could do on the road, but that's a show. That's a different show. PG people.
I don't know what show that is.
It's not on this network. That's all I'll say.
But what is on this network tomorrow night? Keeping it 100 with Phil and Shane. They'll be on at 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central, talking all things Bears and Steelers on Shy City Sports and the Tape Never Lies Network. So be sure to tune in for that. And I believe they have Mark Grody, the Bears sideline reporter, making a stop on the show tomorrow night as well to help break down the matchup. So plenty of fun there, always a good time. And 100 crew out strong as always.
Yes,
get ready for week number 9 coming on up, and hopefully move back to 4-5 on the year and get things trending in somewhat of a positive direction, because God help us, moved to 3-6 and didn't sell a damn piece at the trade deadline.
After Pace said they were going to be aggressive, right? Like they were like, we're going to look to make the team better. Yeah. Okay. Fucking whatever.
So much for that.
I love it.
So much for that. Well, that's going to do it here for us on this week on One Up Fantasy. For Chris Jackle, I'm Stephen Johnson. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll be back after a nice long weekend, extended weekend in Pittsburgh for some Week 10 action. Same time, same place, 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central, right here on Shy City Sports and the Tape Never Lies Network. Mr. Jackle, I will see you on Monday. Twice in a month, twice in 3 weeks.
Wild.
So weird.
Wild. It's going to be fun, man.
That it will. So, hey, if you're going to the game out in Pittsburgh on an off chance, you see us, say hello, as always. But again, if we don't see you then, we'll see you next Tuesday right here on One Up Fantasy. Have a good night, everybody.
Take care, everybody.